Have you ever found yourself withdrawing a little more with each passing year? Maybe the phone rings and you let it go to voicemail. Maybe you skip that family gathering or don't feel the urge to chat as much as you used to. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. In fact, studies show that over 60% of older adults report feeling a natural pull toward solitude, and not because they're sad or lonely, but because something deeper is shifting inside. And here's the truth no one really says out loud: that shift is perfectly normal. Today we're talking about a subject that's rarely discussed but deeply felt: why so many seniors begin avoiding people more often, and why that change can actually be a healthy part of growing older. There's a myth in our society that being social all the time is a sign of success, happiness, or mental strength. But life after 60 is different. You've experienced more. You've grown. And with that wisdom comes a shift in values, in what matters and what doesn't. It's not about becoming antisocial. It's about becoming more selective, more intentional, and more at peace with your own company. Yet even with all this, many seniors feel guilty or concerned about their reduced social appetite. They wonder, am I becoming depressed? Is something wrong with me? Why don't I want to be around people like I used to? Here's what we're going to explore: 6 psychological reasons this happens, reasons backed by science, by life experience, and by common sense, and why understanding them can help you feel empowered instead of worried. Let's begin with one of the most common changes that creeps in quietly: mental fatigue from emotional management. Think back over your life. How many situations did you endure with a smile just to keep the peace? Socializing often means managing not only your emotions but the emotions of others. And as we age, we start running out of energy for that. It's not that you can't do it. It's that you start realizing you don't have to anymore. Many seniors say they feel tired of drama or worn out by small talk. That's not withdrawal. That's emotional clarity. You've spent decades navigating relationships, and now your brain is starting to prioritize emotional energy conservation. It's choosing quality over quantity. Another powerful reason seniors tend to pull back socially is due to shifting identity. When you're younger, so much of your identity is wrapped in external roles: parent, worker, provider, volunteer, spouse. As those roles evolve or fade, you're left facing a question most people avoid: who am I without all the doing? This stage of life invites introspection. You become more inward-facing. That doesn't mean you're disappearing, it means you're rerouting. Spending time alone can be the soil where clarity and healing grow. You're not isolating yourself, you're rediscovering yourself. And it's not just mental. The physical body plays a role too. As we age, our tolerance for overstimulation tends to decrease. Loud environments, long conversations, large crowds, all of these can take a bigger toll than they used to. What used to be energizing might now be exhausting. And the brain, always trying to protect us, starts nudging us toward calmer spaces. That doesn't make you less vibrant. It just means your system is trying to regulate itself. Just like your taste in food may change, your taste in social interaction evolves. You may start craving depth over noise, meaning over momentum. But here's where it gets interesting. Many people fear that this kind of shift means they're becoming isolated. And yes, isolation, when it's unwanted and chronic, can be dangerous. But what we're describing here isn't that. This is solitude by choice, not loneliness by accident. There's a massive difference. Choosing peace over pressure is not isolation. It's autonomy. Another factor that plays a surprising role in this transformation is something researchers call socio-emotional selectivity. It's a theory that says as people age, they become more focused on emotionally meaningful goals and experiences. That means seniors often prefer deeper, more emotionally fulfilling connections, and naturally step away from relationships that feel draining, negative, or superficial. Think about that for a moment. What if avoiding people isn't a sign of decline, but a sign of growth? You begin to realize that time and energy are finite. You don't waste either on conversations that go nowhere or relationships that feel one-sided. Instead of saying yes to everything out of obligation, you begin saying no out of wisdom. One woman described it this way: when I was younger, I used to fill every gap in my calendar. Now I fill the gaps in my soul. That's not giving up on people. That's reconnecting with yourself. Coming up, we'll look at how trauma, grief, and changes in cognitive processing also shape this quiet transition, and how embracing this shift can lead to some of the most peaceful, centered years of your life. And remember, if this message resonates with you or someone you care about, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video, leave a comment below with your experience, and don't forget to subscribe. There's more to uncover, and your story matters here. As we grow older, there are invisible weights we begin to carry, not always physical, but deeply emotional. One of the lesser talked about reasons seniors start withdrawing socially is the accumulation of grief and loss over time. The longer we live, the more we experience the loss of loved ones, pets, routines, health, and sometimes even pieces of ourselves. Grief isn't just something that happens when someone passes away. It shows up in quiet ways. When a friend moves away, when traditions change, when conversations become fewer. And for many older adults, being around people can sometimes stir up those feelings. It's not about sadness overtaking your life, but more about the need for space to process and heal. And that's natural. Grief reshapes the way we connect. It can make surface-level interactions feel hollow. It can make crowds feel lonely. It's not unusual to prefer the company of a good book, a quiet walk, or a familiar place over busy gatherings. That doesn't mean something's wrong. It means something real is happening inside you, and your nervous system is gently asking for rest. Another overlooked reason for social withdrawal is cognitive overload. As we age, the brain becomes more selective about how it processes information. While younger brains often chase novelty, older brains crave clarity and calm. Constant stimulation, rapid conversations, or fast-changing environments can feel more draining than before. This isn't cognitive decline, this is cognitive wisdom. It's your mind choosing peace over noise. Think of it like a computer that's been running too many tabs. At a certain point, it starts slowing down, not because it's broken, but because it's carrying a lot. Closing those extra tabs is a form of care. So is stepping back from too much social stimulation. There's also a psychological shift many seniors experience that often goes unnoticed, the rise of self-reflection over external validation. Earlier in life, we often seek approval. We work hard to build a reputation, be liked, and maintain an image. But in later years, many find themselves turning inward, asking deeper questions. Did I live well? What do I value now? What legacy do I want to leave? This inner journey sometimes means pulling back from the noise of the world so you can actually hear your own thoughts. It might mean choosing a peaceful evening over a packed event, or a walk in nature over a busy cafe. This isn't withdrawal. It's a search for truth, your truth. And the only way to truly hear it is in stillness. Let's also touch on something that affects a surprising number of older adults: fear of judgment or being misunderstood. As we age, we sometimes worry about not keeping up with modern trends, feeling out of touch, or saying the wrong thing. It can create a quiet anxiety around social situations, especially with younger people or large groups. Some begin to think, what if I forget something? Or, what if they think I'm old-fashioned? So rather than risk feeling awkward or left out, they retreat. But here's the truth: everyone at every age feels unsure sometimes. The difference is, with age, you become more aware of it, and sometimes more sensitive to it. And while society often glorifies youth and speed, aging has its own kind of brilliance. You have perspective. You have experience. And most importantly, you have nothing to prove. Choosing not to engage in every social interaction isn't about insecurity, it's about discernment. You've earned the right to protect your energy and focus on what brings you meaning. All of these changes, from emotional fatigue, to shifting identity, to grief, to the quieting of the mind, they aren't symptoms of decline. They're signs of evolution. And here's the beautiful part: this quieter phase of life often becomes the most profound. It's a time when you start living not for everyone else, but for yourself. When silence becomes a sanctuary, and peace becomes a daily choice. Coming up next, we'll share an inspiring story of a woman who found deep joy in solitude, not loneliness, but real joy, after the age of 70. And how her story might remind you of the power that lives in reflection and simplicity. If this journey speaks to you, share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to subscribe, not just to this channel, but to the version of yourself that chooses peace, purpose, and presence every day. Sometimes, stepping back socially isn't about fear or sadness at all. In many cases, it's about something far more empowering, a newfound appreciation for solitude. After years of busy schedules, raising families, building careers, and being on for everyone else, many seniors discover the simple joy of being alone with their thoughts. Solitude becomes sacred. You begin to value your time more deeply. You realize that not every conversation is necessary. Not every invitation needs to be accepted. And not every silence needs to be filled. This clarity often leads to stronger boundaries. You become more selective, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. You'd rather spend time with one person who uplifts you than 10 who drain you. You begin to understand that quality matters more than quantity, especially when it comes to relationships. This doesn't mean giving up on social life. It means shaping it to fit your current needs. It's okay to say no without guilt. It's okay to choose rest over obligation. Because in doing so, you're honoring your emotional well-being, something that was often pushed aside in younger years. Now let's talk about another powerful reason many seniors quietly withdraw: changes in energy and stamina. Not just physical energy, but social energy. Some people are naturally energized by being around others. But for many, especially after 60, long conversations, noisy environments, and constant small talk can feel more draining than fulfilling. This isn't antisocial behavior. It's a shift in what feels nourishing. You might notice that after a dinner with a big group, you feel tired for the entire next day. Or that certain social obligations now feel more like chores than pleasures. This awareness helps you prioritize and focus on the interactions that truly bring joy, laughter, or comfort. You begin to seek depth over distraction, real conversations over polite chatter. You want moments that feel real, and it's perfectly okay to pass on the rest. There's also something deeply personal that starts to emerge in the later stages of life: the journey of self-redefinition. Many seniors begin to ask, who am I now, without the job title, the parent role, the constant busyness? It's a time of powerful self-inquiry. This process often requires quiet space, alone time, reflection. Because in the stillness, you start to hear your inner voice again. Not the one shaped by responsibilities, but the one shaped by truth. You start to rediscover what brings you peace, what gives you purpose, and what lights up your spirit. And when that voice gets stronger, so does your confidence in choosing what and who to surround yourself with. We often talk about retirement as the end of something. But what if it's really the beginning? Not just of a slower life, but a more meaningful one. One where you don't have to prove anything. One where joy isn't loud or public, but gentle, quiet, and deeply satisfying. Let me share a story that might sound familiar. There's a man named Robert who spent most of his life as a high school principal. He was known in his community, always surrounded by people, always on the go. But after he turned 70, he found himself avoiding gatherings. At first, he thought something was wrong. Why don't I enjoy these events anymore? He wondered. But over time, he realized he wasn't sad. He wasn't lonely. He was simply content in his own rhythm. He started gardening more, taking long solo walks, reading books he never had time for. He spoke with fewer people, but the conversations were richer. His circle got smaller, but his peace grew larger. When someone asked if he missed his old social life, he smiled and said, "I don't miss the noise. I've made room for meaning." Robert's story is not unusual. In fact, it reflects a growing trend among older adults who are choosing self-connection over social obligation. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to honor. Because when you stop chasing every social expectation, you start connecting more deeply with yourself, and that's where real joy begins. As we head into the final part of this video, we'll wrap up the 6 key psychological reasons behind this shift and talk about how embracing it can actually lead to better emotional health, stronger connections, and a deeper sense of freedom in your later years. If this message speaks to your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who might need to hear this, and subscribe to Golden Daily Life for more uplifting content made just for you. Let's take a moment to revisit everything we've uncovered about why it's normal, and even healthy, to distance yourself from others as you age. First, we talked about how emotional fatigue can build up over decades, especially from managing relationships that aren't always easy. That fatigue leads many to seek peace over pleasing others. Next, we explored how wisdom and life experience help you spot toxic or draining relationships more clearly, and how protecting your energy becomes a new form of self-care. Then we discussed how solitude can become something sacred. After years of noise and responsibility, you begin to treasure quiet time, not because you're withdrawing, but because you're finally choosing what matters. We also looked at how physical and social energy naturally shift. Long events or constant interactions may feel overwhelming now, not because you're losing interest, but because your needs have changed. Another reason? You're redefining who you are. Without work, parenting, or outside roles driving your identity, you're free to rediscover yourself, and that journey often happens best in stillness and space. And finally, there's the deep truth that a smaller, more intentional life can actually feel richer. You don't need a crowd. You need connection, and even one meaningful moment can fill your heart more than 100 surface conversations. It's important to know that pulling back from certain people or situations doesn't make you unfriendly, cold, or depressed. For many, it's simply a shift in priorities, a quiet, thoughtful realignment with what truly matters. Now, of course, it's also worth saying, if you feel isolated or lonely, that's a different signal, and one worth listening to. There's a big difference between choosing peace and feeling forgotten. If you're longing for connection but don't know where to start, small steps help. A phone call, a walk with a neighbor, a class at the local center. You don't need to rebuild a whole social circle overnight. You just need one good conversation to begin. But if you're content in your stillness and simply notice that you're more private now, more selective, or less interested in small talk, know that this is part of a healthy, natural transformation. It's your wisdom speaking. You've earned the right to choose your space, your pace, and your people. You've earned the right to rest, reflect, and restore. And if that means saying no more often, so be it. The beautiful thing is that this kind of clarity doesn't make life smaller. It makes it fuller. You may have fewer people around you, but the ones who remain will be the ones who matter. The ones who really see you, support you, and celebrate who you are, now, not just who you were. As we wrap up, remember this. You're not withdrawing from the world. You're stepping into a wiser version of it, one that honors your peace, your truth, and your joy. And if this message touched you, if it made you feel seen or understood, please do something simple but powerful. Click like, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Golden Daily Life. We're building a space just for you, where age is celebrated, voices are heard, and wisdom leads the way. Thank you for being here. Your journey matters. And you're not alone.